Hi, I'm Dina from P2M Asset Management, independent financial advisor and CEO of P2M Group. So today I've been joined by Simon. He's a 19-year-old looking to get onto the property ladder and a first-time buyer. So Simon has a list of questions that he wants to throw at me, of which I'll be able to answer and hopefully get him onto the property ladder. So Simon.
Thank you very much, Dina. I'm thinking of moving out from the home where I live with my parents, but I'm not sure whether I'm ready to buy. How do I know whether or not I'm ready to buy?
Okay, so there's two things. One is emotionally being ready. So are you ready to fly the nest, Simon? Living independently is obviously not the same as living with your family. And we need to make sure you budget for living on your own. There's some things you may not be paying at the moment. May it be the council tax or the bills, the electrics, the water. So living on your own, you need to make sure that you can afford these things, as well as the mortgage payments and the extra added responsibilities you're going to be looking to take on. So it seems that you've taken the first step because you're asking me these questions, Simon. So you are thinking, well, actually, I need to be thinking of these things.
Is it more affordable for me to move out if I decide to move in with someone else?
Look, first thing we've got to discuss is your budget. What can you afford and how much can you get? So a couple of things. If you're working, I need to understand how much you're earning. If you have any loans, debts, any credit card commitments, Simon, you need to provide me that information and also be as honest as you can, because this will allow me to assess your affordability, which is in line with exactly what the bank would do. That would be the first thing. Once you have a budget from myself, then you get an indication of what the lenders will allow you to borrow. Then, of course, the question comes back to you, Simon, of how much savings do you have? How much deposit do you have to put into the pot in order for us to understand the property price? So is it £100,000 property that you can buy? Or, as you said, do I buy with somebody else? Do I go, have somebody else and have their income? And then what are the pitfalls or the advantages of doing that? So there's a lot to consider. Ideally, I would want you to buy yourself if you can. It's far more simpler, but affordability is the key thing.
You mentioned briefly in your answer there, credit cards. How does my credit score impact my ability to buy?
Firstly, Simon, the key question is, do you have a credit card? If you do, that's great. I actually would encourage you use that credit card. So buy something on it and then pay it off. Because as a first-time buyer, you don't have any financial history. We don't have any record of you. So actually, to the lender, you are a higher risk individual. So to build your credit up, it's always good to use your credit cards, but then to pay them off. If you do have any outstanding balances on your credit card, this will affect your affordability and the level of lending. And so I don't actually encourage you to have balances on your cards that you pay off on a monthly basis, but I do encourage you to use them.
When buying a house, how much money do I need for a down payment?
Right, good question. There's two things. The minimum you require at the moment, because the government's been very lenient and a lot of the lenders are providing 95% lending. So that means that you need a 5% deposit, and that's the 5% of the purchase price. Okay. However, Simon, just because you've got 5% of the purchase price does not mean the lender's going to lend you 95%, because the lender will only lend you the 95% based on your income and your affordability. So it's back to what I said to you earlier, that we need to get your pay slips, we need to get your bank statements to me, I need to get an understanding of your outgoings in order for me to tell you how much we can look to get from the bank.
Do you have any tips for how I can get the best mortgage possible?
I mean, in terms of the best mortgage, there's various things that us advisors would look at. One would be the competitive rate. Obviously, we want to get you the best rates. The type of rate. So is it a standard variable rate? Is it a fixed rate? Is it a capped rate? Is it a discount rate? So all these type of rates we would actually discuss with you once you've actually found your property and we know what level of lending you are going to get. The other things we would look at is that, is it a capital and interest mortgage that we should be looking at for you, or is it an interest only mortgage? So there's two different ways that you can pay a mortgage. One is to pay the capital and the interest. So the actual debt is reducing over the number of years that you've got the mortgage. And then you've got the interest only version, which generally people buying a property to live in don't necessarily go for. But what that means, Simon, is that debt is never reducing. So if you had a mortgage for 25 years for 100,000, for example, on the 25th year, you're still having a debt of 100,000 because all you've been doing is paying the interest. So then we need to be discussing as an advisor to yourself is how are you going to pay that mortgage off on the 25th year? And there's different repayment vehicles, whether it be investment stock market linked vehicles, whether it could be, other property that you're looking at. But generally lenders on a residential basis are not inclined to look to lend on an interest only. Unless, of course, you're putting a larger deposit down, then the risk factor tends to go lower for the bank.
Thank you very much, Dina, for answering all my questions.